Hello and welcome to the Board Gamer Girl channel. My name is Natalie and I like to talk about all things board games, but from my primarily solo perspective. So today we are doing a monthly recap, my second monthly recap, because I've done 2 months consistently of coming back to this channel and relaunching my YouTube. So yay for me! Today, what we usually do in this video is I go through my month of gaming stats, I pick out some favorites, some disappointments if there were any, and surprises of the month. But I also go over a little bit of what's been going on the channel, and I also like to talk about things that have come up in the board gaming industry. And I didn't know if I was going to talk about this, but as it's my channel and I'm relaunching with some authenticity and vulnerability, because that's my year for 2026, I thought I'd talk about a couple things that I didn't really connect, which seems common sense, but relays back to the very first channel, the very first video that I did for this channel in 2026, and was probably part of the reason that I left YouTube for over a year and why I was thinking about quitting content creation in general. So before getting into all my stats and stuff, let's get to some of the things that came up this month. So one of the things is discussions about, or ongoing discussions as it comes up almost seasonally at this point, is the authenticity of content creators in the space. And I'll say, at least from my beginnings, I started maybe 2016 or 2017 that I started Boardgaymergirl on Instagram. And part of that was because I found that you could play board games solo. And since nobody else wanted to play with me, I was posting it on my personal Instagram. Thought that might be annoying, so I just did some punny thing and made a new Instagram, and it became my virtual scrapbook, I guess, for myself, where I'd write about how I experienced that game for myself, and then would almost do like a carousel post of me starting the game, during the game, at the end of the game, so that I could look back for myself and just get geeky by myself because I couldn't get geeky with anyone else. Lo and behold, obviously you're on the internet, you might find at least one other person that shares similar interests and can geek out with you. So while I wasn't looking for more people, I was satisfied with myself and my life and the people that I surrounded myself with. It opened up a whole bunch of opportunities for friendships, conventions, playing games with more than myself, and having other people around the table. And it was fun and it was great. And then it became part of my work even, and just obviously a great privilege to be able to do some of those things. But I will say over the last couple of years that part of maybe my I'm gullible. So my gullibleness with coming into a new community and my first time making friendships over the internet, I just automatically trusted people that I met from the internet, and just felt everyone's here for the same reasons. They're just authentically themselves, just sharing the hobby. Like they're here for that joy and for that connection and stuff. And the thing is the internet, everybody that you meet, you meet them in person, and sometimes you can't sneak away with certain things, but personalities on the internet, even myself, it's curated, right? So you only meet me for what I want to show you on this video, but you're not with me at like 6 a.m. when somebody wakes me up and I am not having it, right? Like you don't get to know all the nitty-gritty bits. And especially on the internet, this is a big case, even in DMs or discussions and stuff like that. So part of it was realizing that I was naive on not everyone, like maybe a smaller percentage, but it did surprise me or make me feel a certain kind of way, as these kinds of activities are not ones that I would like to align myself with, and you don't know who you're aligning with on the internet, you're taking people at their word, but people would buy followers or they'd buy engagement and they'd balloon with crazy numbers, like randomly out of nowhere. Or you'd only get messages for collaborations or transactional relationships, or who gave you that, or what did you get, or how did you get this publisher, and blah, 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 blah. And my gosh, it felt like that community in content creation just changed overnight for me. And while I didn't necessarily know what it was that was bugging me right away, I feel like it took a while and it kind of weighted me down, because at the same time, I'm not participating in those kinds of things, but it started to feel more competitive than it was in connection, or at least authentic connection, and enjoying board games. I mean, some people would get their review copies and not even play it. They'd take their few photos and sell it to the next person, right? Like, all these things happen, and it happens in other industries. We're just a small little subset, little nichey bitty board game thing, right? So I don't think it would happen as much in other industries. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I only live my own experience. But I mean, with some of the topics that came up this month, I realized, how did I not connect it earlier? That would have been partially to blame for how I started to feel difficult and defeated. And I mean, other practices where you wonder if you should be hiding your likes on certain things, because Instagram has that ability, right? And me personally, I understand the mental health aspect of it. And I mean, I would sometimes prefer to do that because, yeah, you can't help it. Sometimes you're really excited to spread the message of something, or share a reel, or share a photo, or something you put a lot more work into. And the response you get back is like, right? And then you can't help but be a little bit sad, because you still put effort into that, right? And you have to wonder why. You go to analytics, you go through other things, and then you see other people doing far better. But at the same time, for mental health reasons, you might hide those likes, and then it's just about creation. And that's fantastic, and I very much would want to do that. But at the same time, I feel if you are calling yourself a content creator or an influencer, and you're receiving review copies or doing any kind of transactional situation between you and a publisher or a company, that would mean that you shouldn't be hiding your likes. But this is just my personal opinion, and it can be argued either way. And maybe somebody out there has their own specific reasons as to why they do it, or somebody saying, well, I'll do it for those posts, but I won't do it for another post. Again, everyone has their own line in the sand for where they put their balance and where they don't. In general, that's just a lot of how life has been going. But that, and then the other thing that really bugs me is, in the hobby right now, it's obviously a hot topic about AI and its uses. And we talk about publishers not using AI, or reviewers who will refuse to take any kind of product that has AI as a final product. Obviously, there's a whole different spectrum of that conversation. Because I mean, say BGA, so Board Game Arena, it's still a computer software program. And when you're designing your game to be played on there, there's a certain amount of calculation for points or things that go on. The computer's using it. I mean, I don't know enough about AI to say where is the line for AI to be used and not to be used. And then in the creative process, I will say that it's the final product that shouldn't have AI, and specifically, I really wish more publishers would put their artists on their box. If they don't put their artist on their box, I automatically will think it's AI. Or I'll automatically think, why don't you appreciate your creatives more? You know what I mean? But when it comes to AI, if we're asking and demanding that of publishers, then I too think that content creators should not be using AI. If you are getting paid especially, you should not be doing AI. If we expect this of publishers, I feel like we should do that as influencers. Otherwise, you have certain YouTube channels that are completely AI, which I feel like a lot of people would automatically be like, what the hell is this? But somebody that does a little bit of AI on a post or something here and thinks it's funny, I still, like, there's different things, you know, like there's a caricature for a joke and there's a caricature to use it ongoingly that wasn't crafted by you. There are a ton of content creators who do animated creative works or artistic works, and if you need help with that, you can go to them. Or at the same time, like, could be its own bit of you just drawing your own stuff, right? Anyways, those are a couple of the things that bugged me, and a couple of those conversations came up this month in the board game industry that I realize were definitely part of the issue of me feeling like I was competing, not competing, like just, I can't think of a better word, but competing with like this huge mountain that I could not climb. And like, I don't have my little clip-in things to get up the iceberg or whatever. I'm more like the Titanic hitting the iceberg. But I digress. It just felt defeating, and I needed a break, and I needed to get in touch with, how do I want to approach content creation? What feels good to me? And then remembering that it isn't necessarily the hobby that's affecting my dislike, and it was more the space, and having to be more cautious with my relationships, who I'm connected to, and how I wanted to show up more authentically, not just for myself, but just for something going into 2026. And for me, it feels a lot better. Again, everyone's got their lines in the sand. I'm only just stating my own opinion, and I'm sure there will be a whole bunch of opinions. This is a dangerous video for me. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. There's tons of opinions on this. This is a way bigger opinion piece than usual. But with that, let's get into my statistics. So today, let me get out my handy board gaming journal. And for February, I played 26 games and I played 35 times. And then just as a little tidbit, because I did start to play games solo a lot more, I played 14 times solo. So I'll also mention that on the channel, I did 4 shorts and 5 videos. So that is more than my minimum 1 time a week. So yay for me again. Actually, let's take a tea break. Now, also, as you see, I am not in a hot dog outfit. Maybe if you squint your eyes a little bit, and no, I hope that I don't look like a hot dog if you squint your eyes. Let's not. But we do not have a fireplace. We do not have a hot dog. I am sorry for that, but I will still lead that race to a hot dog costume for one of my videos coming into March. And if we hit 200 subscribers instead, I will still wear the hot dog outfit. I have more costumes to come, so let's make me uncomfortable, but in a funny way that we all laugh together and not in any other kind of crappy way. I digress. We got to 138 subscribers nonetheless, so thank you so much. I mean, this isn't necessarily right at the end of the month that I'm doing this video, so maybe it'll change. If it does, I'll put that in the video somewhere, but let's get into some of the games that I played. So for some of the games that I played this month, I'm going to kind of cut them in two, because some I really enjoyed for sure, and others I like them, but I'm nervous to call them a favorite because I do think I need to play them more in order to see where I stand with them. So a couple of the top ones I will say is Remember Our Trip, which is another Sashi and Sashi game. I know I wanted to play it, but I had no idea what it was. I've enjoyed some of their other games that I've come across with wacky themes, and I really like the art style as well, very minimalist. But, and then because it's minimalist, it's clear with the graphic design. But this was such a weird game that I do think it can depend your enjoyment of it depending on the group that you're with, as I think there is no solo mode for this one, but you're basically semi-cooperatively trying to remember your literal trip, and part of that is where were certain statues or buildings or shops that you came across, and how you play is you'll be drafting certain tokens every turn to try to match those tokens into Tetris-like shapes on your own map. And if you are the first person to construct a structure, so say you constructed a statue in a certain area, so a 2-spot area, then you get to put that on the main map if there's not something there already. You'll get points for constructing the structure, but you'll also get points if you matched the main map. And obviously you constructing that helps you, but now it makes everyone else have to construct that structure in that area to get those bonus points. So it's really neat, and if you role play the game a little bit, we were like, oh, amnesia. Someone's like, the hotel was over here by the river, and the other person's got it like on the other side of the river, and there's shops there instead. Anyways, maybe you had to be there. Maybe just remember. That was a really fun one. I also loved playing Off With Their Heads. Again, I did a solo variant on that game because I felt it was really easy to switch to a solo variant. It's not official, so I mean, play at your own risk. But I'll put the video somewhere if you'd like to watch it. If you don't, it's okay. Doesn't matter. I enjoyed it. And it's basically a trick-taking game with the theme of Alice in Wonderland. And I like a lot of Alice in Wonderland things, so I like the colors of things. And yeah, flip and rights usually I do enjoy. Sometimes I feel like the genre is just overrun, but I really liked this one. And I just really like the studio as well. So those were two of my favorite games of the month. Some that I feel like I need more time with. One is Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers trick-taking game. This is because, one, I've only played it twice and I've only played it solo. For some reason, I've never played any of the Lord of the Rings trick-taking games solo before, which is ridiculous. And to do that, you need to play all 4 characters, or 4 characters at least. And each hand of the characters starts with 4 cards. And as you get rid of cards to do the tricks, you'll put a new card into their hand of cards, and you'll play all 4 of the characters. All 4 of the characters also have to accomplish their goals, and it is really hard. I've played the 2-player variant, and I've played at 3 players, and both of those, for some reason, like, they're hard, but they feel less difficult. So I also want to hold off on this one because it's more of, I really enjoyed the Fellowship of the Ring and that story, and I want to see more of the Two Towers to have a better comparison over also which one I'd like more is, I think, more of the danger here. Not that there's a danger, but anyways. I also really liked Unconscious Mind, but the reason that I'm not putting it at the top of my favorites is because of the amount of stuff that you need to set up. I will say that I got the Kickstarter version of the game, so there's just a lot more components everywhere. And I'd never played it before. I just finally was able to play it. I need to also play it solo because, you know, there's that barrier to entry when you're solo. You are in charge of learning the rules. You are in charge of learning the solo rules. And then you are in charge of setting the whole thing up, playing the game, and putting it back away. There is no one to help you. And I'm sorry for that. But For some of these larger games, which I love and I do enjoy, like medium to heavier games, I need the motivation to bring that all to the table and then have the motivation to play it. Some of these games I'll set up and then I'll go away and I'll play it another day, or I'll play it more than once. So that's my only thing with Unconscious Mind. So now for the disappointments and then the surprises. So unfortunately, I do have one disappointment on my list this month, and it's not necessarily a bad game at all, okay? It's just, for me personally, I prefer something else over it, and the game is called Knitting Circle. So Knitting Circle is a Calico game, and this game kind of tries to do similar things that Calico did, but Calico did their game so well, and it was actually my favorite from that trilogy of Calico, Verdant, and Cascadia. Calico, I just really like how you know when your time's up because your playmat will be full of tiles, so you don't have to count out special tiles. You can just it makes setup a lot easier. You just take the bag, you take the cats that you need, and you just shuffle up and throw out some cat scoring cards, and you're ready to go. And the solo mode is smooth, and multiplayer is smooth, and it really gives you some AP, which I know is part of why people prefer maybe Cascadia over Calico. But Knitting Circle, you're still doing patterns, and you're like making quilt cards, I think. Quilt cards to construct different types of things. So mittens, hats, blah, blah, blah. But you have to set up each of these decks where there's like 5 different decks, and then shuffle all of those, put those all together, have the buttons in certain areas, and then you're doing it on your play mat. And because it's got the style and similarity to Calico, the setup itself, and for me as a solo player, as I just described, the extra heavy lifting we might have to make to play a game, it just makes me want to play Calico instead of like the new kid on the block. So like, yeah, Calico for me is just the better game, and that is why Knitting Circle is on my disappointments list. So not that it's a bad game, it's just I have something better in my collection that suits the same needs. Now, for surprises this month, oh my goodness. I was not ready for Cozy Stickerville. So I am not I picked up Animal Crossing like everybody else did during the pandemic, and that is the whole reason I have a Twitch, to be honest. And I played that and it was neat, but then after the pandemic, I was over it. I don't necessarily find myself a cozy gamer. Meanwhile, I'm here on a couch with my blanket and some tea, actually. Very nice. But I don't consider myself someone who loves just narrative games without a point. And I find Animal Crossing is the video game version of that. But for a video game, I would rather play that than necessarily a game without a point or a win or end goal, etc. kind of thing. The video game just does things super snappy, and for some things, I'm not sure. There's been attempts to make an Animal Crossing board game, pretty much, for a really long time. And there was, Stardew Valley the game. I haven't played that one, so I can't speak to that. There's Mythwind, but I worked for the company, so I'm not going to comment on that one. I've also worked with them for Storyfold, which I do like, but again, I worked for the company. I don't think it's fair for me to comment on some of the games that I worked with or helped as a person who worked for the publisher, in that sense at least. What else was there? Elia and Something Shiny, I think, was close to the Storyfold kind of thing where you're going through a story. But Cozy Stickerville I got because, 1, I know it's going to be popular. 2, I know it's going to be a popular solo game specifically. But one of the big things that I was worried about was the sticker thing, and that part in legacy games in general, just like, I have held on to stickers for like 10 years because they're so nice and pretty, but once you put them on something, you have committed to that sticker forever being attached to that object. It will never be the same even if you peel it off. So yeah, maybe I just have commitment issues, I don't know. But to play a game where the whole premise is sticking stickers permanently to a piece of paper, well, like a cardboard board, for the whole thing, instead of like Pandemic Legacy, it happens a little bit here and there, but not like the whole premise is that. Well, maybe you can argue it, whatever. Talk amongst yourselves. But this game was so good. Like it was, and I played it by myself for the demo, and I played it with family. And it feels the closest that a board game has come to recreating an Animal Crossing to a board game. Even with the sticker thing. Like, I'm okay with the stickers. Well, okay, I need to nudge them a little bit and get them in the little corners and stuff, but after that, we're fine. Might get some tweezers to do things properly. Who knows? But it is a lot of fun. I will say I've only played the demo and chapter 1, so who knows? And taking those stickers off of the sticker book can be difficult. Maybe I'll look more into it in a video further along from now to give kind of a look back at my thoughts on this one. But it definitely surprised me that it would be in my favorites, but I wanted to put it in my surprises because it felt like that big of a jump for me, for my personal style of gaming, that I find that as enjoyable because you're sticking things on, you're finding, there's this old man that I need to find all the time and put him everywhere on my map because I love him. I mean, there's other things. Sorry if that's a spoiler. I'm trying not to spoil too much. But just the way that you go about it, it just feels as close to Animal Crossing in a board game, and I've really enjoyed it. And it's actually made me want to go back to play Animal Crossing again. I'll probably get bored with that real soon. But yeah. And so we are currently at 138 subscribers. If we get to 200 by March, I will be in a hot dog costume, and then we can go on the hunt for another type of costume or vote for something else for me to do that's silly but please doesn't need the hospital. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your month. Wait, no, okay. I'm saying that because it is like the night of February 28th. So I'm gonna see you in March. This is getting weird, so goodbye!